Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzeti Show. I'm Pete Mezzeti. The topic of this evening is the broadcast industry, how it's changed, and whatever else is going to happen within the next hour. With my guest this evening to talk about what's going on in the broadcast industry is the man, the myth, the legend, Lee Elci.
Thought we were going to wrestle.
We're not wrestling. We're not wrestling. Hey, bud.
I heard I was like fourth choice today. You had Joe Courtney was first choice,
yeah.
And then dog catcher right after that, and then there was like 2 levels down. Then you got to me. Then you got me.
There you go.
Thanks.
Hey, pal.
How you doing?
What's up, man? Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for asking me to come on, man.
No problem.
I remember last time I did your show, you were at a location. You were at a restaurant.
We were at Luigi's in Old Saybrook.
Yeah.
We were at Luigi's in Old Saybrook. That's right. That was a couple of years ago. We saw each other, and you and I see each other every year at the food drive, hanging out with Max Saberin and Gil Simmons and everybody for the food pantry.
Max Saberin is the price we have to pay to be good, right?
Exactly.
You have to spend a little time with Max.
You got to hang out with Max, and you get to hang out with the chief.
So look, I got to congratulate you. 500 plus shows. This is amazing, dude.
It is.
I mean, you asked me today, you said, what do you want to talk about? And I said, I want to talk about Pete Mezzeti.
Fine.
Let's talk about Pete Mezzeti.
What do you want to talk about?
What's in Pete Mezzeti's future? What, I mean, 500 plus shows.
500 plus shows, yeah.
Is there a goal? Is there a dream? What's the dream? When Pete Mezzeti puts his head on this pillow at night, what's he want to do?
I figured that Pete Mezzeti would stop doing the Pete Mezzeti Show.
Okay.
When Pete Mezzeti can't put a full sentence together.
Oh, that's not going to ever happen.
Well, it could be next week. It could be next week.
All right.
And the funny thing is how the Pete Mezzeti Show first got started.
Yeah.
Because I've been here with Valley Shore Community Television, which were on the shoreline in Westbrook.
Right.
I've been here since they started about 10 or so years ago.
Okay.
But before that, I was with Comcast out of Clinton when they were downtown. And how the show got started in Clinton was one afternoon, my mom was on the Board of Selectmen in Clinton at the time, and I ran across the street to the Comcast building to drop off my cable bill.
Right.
And knocked on the door. The public access coordinator happened to answer the door, handed him my bill.
Right.
And he's like, come on in for a few minutes. So I stand there talking to him.
Yep.
Says to me, hey, what's going on? How are you? Blah, blah, blah. So we're talking.
Right.
And he looks at me, says to me, you know something? The town of Clinton doesn't have a community affairs show. I said, okay. Ran across the street to the town hall.
Right.
Before my mom's meeting. The current first selectman was Willie Fritz at the time, who I was very friendly with because my mom ran on the ticket with him for the Board of Selectmen. Said something to him. I was sitting on the other side of his desk. He comes around his desk, shakes my hand. Congratulations, it's yours. That was the beginning of the Pete Mezzeti Show.
So before that time, you were never thinking about that? It just sort of came out of nowhere, out of left field?
No, before that time, in high school, I was the equipment manager for the football team. So I carried headsets, water bottles. Every time they called timeout during the games, I would run out and with the water and do that. And I also did a little bit of writing for the high school newspaper, and that sort of got the.
But you never got in front of a mirror with a spoon and pretending like you were you're ABC Monday Night Football or anything like that.
No.
Nothing. Okay.
Nothing at all.
So out of left field, and look, you built an amazing career. 10 years later.
Out of left field, and it all happened.
Yeah.
And
what's your favorite part about doing this?
I would have to say the wide array of people that I meet.
All right.
Okay. So, right, because you never know who you're going to interview. One day you could interview Lee Elci. The next day
somebody good.
No. The next day a head of state could be sitting here talking to me.
You got big guests that come on. You really do. Now, when you get a Joe Courtney, who let's let everybody know bailed on you today.
Well, he's in Washington.
I'm just kidding. I'm being sarcastic.
He's in D.C.
No, but do you do a lot of homework for that?
Oh yeah.
You do?
Oh yeah. I've got to write, because usually what I do before I tape my show, the day before, I will lock myself in my office.
Right.
And at home.
Right.
And write all my questions,
Okay.
go over everything, and make sure it sounds okay.
Right. All right.
I basically script my show.
Okay. So and you ask what you think people want to have answered, or what you want to have answered?
Sometimes I do a little bit of both.
Okay.
Like I'll rate what I write, and then I'll say to my guest, "What do you?" Because the way that I look at it, if a guest is coming on with me and they're from a nonprofit organization or whoever I'm interviewing, this is their half hour or their hour show. So I'm just there to ask questions to make sure it runs through. So what I normally do, it's just so there's no meatball throwing, you might call it, is I will say to them, "Hey, this is your half hour. What do you want to talk about?"
Sure. Okay. Well, those kinds of interviews, though, with a nonprofit or something like that, it's much different than, let's say, because a Courtney interview or if you get a senator in here, you got to ask them tougher questions.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, you definitely got to ask tougher questions, especially if you're like someday if you get Joe Courtney or Chris Murphy.
Sure. And you haven't got Murphy yet.
No.
All right. Sometimes he's walking down the street.
I know. I think he's actually walking the state of Connecticut this week.
Yeah, he was complaining the other day because there weren't enough bathrooms on the way.
He
was not enough porta potties. I swear.
Well,
yeah, man.
So my question to you, and you and I are going to go back and forth for our time this afternoon.
That sounds good to me.
My question for you is, tell us about Lee Elci and how he got started in the illustrious career of radio.
How far do you want me to go back?
I'll tell you what. Before we do radio, let's talk baseball.
Okay. That's my favorite.
I know it is.
That's my favorite. When I die, hopefully 100 years from now, I want the tombstone to say baseball.
All right.
That's what I always consider myself. That was my dream when I was a kid.
Well, tell us about it.
All right. So when I was a little kid, I was one of those kids. I was a little fat, chunky kid.
All right.
And I got picked on by the neighborhood kids till I was about 8 years old. And then by some magic, one of the neighbors put a bat in my hand, and I got up against the older kids and was better than everybody even at 8, right? So all of a sudden, I sort of became accepted, and I fell in love with that game. Spent every waking second of my, from 8 years old until I was, 23, 24, everything I did in life was towards baseball. Like I left other things to the side. So, I went on, played high school. I was I was all conference like 3 years, all state.
Okay.
Then I ended up going to college. I got a scholarship to go to school. And after that, I ended up signing with the St. Louis Cardinals. So I played a couple years with the Cardinals in their organization, and that didn't necessarily work out. So by the time I was 24, 25, I'm an old man, as baseball goes. And they let me go, but I wound up playing in Australia, and I played in Europe for a year. So I got a chance to see those two places, which was kind of neat. And so there's a lot more detail in the baseball side of it, but it was my passion. It was definitely my first love was baseball.
Do you like playing for St. Louis?
I liked I liked putting that uniform on for the first time, being able to say, hey, listen, I'm a professional. I made it.
Right.
It probably wasn't the right organization for me, Pete, because I wasn't at that time. This was the late '80s.
Right.
So St. Louis at that time had guys like Vince Coleman, Willie McGee. These guys could fly. They were burners, and St. Louis was all about speed.
Right.
And I was more a power guy, lumbering kind of a player. So it just wasn't a good mesh. And that didn't work out. But I did. I do love looking back and thinking about those days. It was a special time for me, for sure.
So to this day, you still a St. Louis fan?
I have St. Louis paraphernalia. I'm actually, I get a little bitter too. You got to, yes, they gave me a chance, but also, at the same time, they also said goodbye.
Right.
So it was, there's a little bittersweet for me as far as that goes.
So tell me this: for the couple of years that you played for St. Louis, did you get your own baseball card?
I have a baseball card. Yeah, I do.
No, you don't.
I do.
No.
But what's funny is,
really?
So Topps sent me a check for $5. and I still have it in a scrapbook.
Okay.
And what happened was, so I moved, like my first year I played in Hamilton, Ontario.
Okay.
But I got to that team late because I signed my contract late. So I missed the baseball card that year. The second year, I was playing in Florida, and then they moved me to Savannah, Georgia, and then from Savannah, Georgia to Springfield, all in sort of like a month or so time.
Okay.
And they took the baseball cards. Every time I would go to a town, they would have just taken it. So technically, I don't have a Topps baseball card. I have one made, but it's technically not real. But I do have proof that Topps sent me a contract for $5.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, that was kind of a neat perk.
Nice.
It was kind of a neat perk. So yeah, I have a card for you. How about you? Do you have a card for being the father?
No, I don't have a card for being Pete Mezzeti. Of course not.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, is there anything else baseball related? I mean, who's your favorite team?
I'm actually an Orioles fan.
You're an Orioles fan. All right. So are you a old school sort of fan? Do you love the game, or are you just kind of casual? You sound like you're a big football fan.
Yeah, I'm kind of casual.
Yeah.
And I sort of like college sports.
Okay.
Rather than
All right.
pro sports.
But you're a Baltimore. So Brooks Robinson just passed away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
saw
he was
that.
one of the all-time greats. But you're more of a college fan.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I actually went to Clemson. Are you a Clemson fan?
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, for a year, and then I left there and went to a different school.
Where'd you go?
I went to Old Dominion. That's where I finished. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, so bounced around. I'm all over the place, man.
Man, you are.
All over the place.
You are all over the place.
Yeah.
My brother is in Minnesota,
Yep.
and my sister-in-law and my niece. My sister-in-law graduated from the University of Iowa.
Okay.
My niece is currently a freshman at the University of Iowa.
All right.
So
That's a weird place to land, too.
I know.
Right?
Yeah, I know. My brother was like, because every year they play, the University of Minnesota plays the University of Iowa, and they alternate years. So
Yep.
one year they'll play in Minnesota, one year they'll play in Iowa.
Right.
This year they're playing in Iowa, because I talked to my brother the other day. Next year they're playing in Minnesota. He was like, so you might have to come out for a college football game.
Have you ever been to a college football game?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
a different world, right?
Totally. Matter of fact, a bunch of years ago, I flew out to Minnesota to see my brother. The University of Minnesota was playing Purdue that day.
Yep.
Was that weekend. He's like, so we're gonna go to the game. I'm like, okay. The game started at 11 o'clock in the morning, Central Time.
Yeah.
So noon here.
Yeah.
The tailgate started at 7:30. So I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
So we're hanging out at the tailgate.
Yep.
He's like, hang out here. I'll be right back. So he actually had to go see if he can find a couple extra tickets.
Yeah.
He's like, watch this. He's like, bad news is we couldn't find any extra tickets. I'm like, okay. He's like, but the good news is the restaurant that we were at was across the street from the Minneapolis Metrodome.
Right.
He's like, all these people have tickets to the game.
Uh-oh.
Watch this. As soon as about 15 minutes before the game time, this place is going to clear out. Watch. Okay. Sure enough, 15 minutes before the game, restaurant cleared out. It was me, him, 3 or 4 of his buddies. We had a bartender waiting on us, a waitress at our beck and call, a bathroom at 50 feet, and the beers weren't $6.50 each like they are at the stadium.
So you had a better time.
Oh, we had a big screen TV in front of
so
us,
it's
and
just-
about 19 all around the side of the bar watching different games.
That's good. That's good.
It's like, oh,
That's
man.
good. Yeah, man. That's better.
It was a great time.
Yeah. All right.
The only thing about Minnesota in the winter,
Cold.
yeah,
Yeah. Cold, man. I don't want to be
freezing,
there.
man.
Well, thanks.
not like Connecticut.
No.
Not like Connecticut.
No, sir.
So we got to tell the story about how you and I first met.
All right. You tell it.
You remember?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, you start and I'll pick
You
it up.
start and I'll finish.
Yeah, something like that.
You and I first met at a food drive
Okay.
with Max.
That was the first time. That must have been a long time ago.
Yeah.
I thought we met at a chili thing.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. We met at the old Tibbert Chili Festival.
Right. That's what I thought was
That's
the first
right.
time.
You were working for one of the other stations.
One of the others, yeah. Same owner, but yeah.
Yeah, same owner.
Yeah, okay.
Different
and then
station.
Max next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. You and I met at the Chili Festival
Yep.
because you were doing your
I had
thing.
to do a broadcast from
Yeah,
there.
you were doing your thing, and I was actually helping with the chamber that day, and it was freezing cold.
It was freezing cold. I remember that. It was like Minnesota cold.
And I think we had a couple inches of snow on the ground.
I'm not
too.
sure. You might be right.
I think
Yeah, you
we
might be
did.
right. Yeah.
And then we both got introduced to Max Saverin,
Yeah,
who's an awesome guy.
He thinks so.
Well, yeah.
No, he's good.
We like to think he's
Max is great.
Max is
he does a lot for the community.
absolutely. Another friend of ours who does a lot for the community, the chief.
Mr. Gil Simmons?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we had an issue. One of my friends is having a big event this weekend, so he kept asking Gil Simmons, of course, meteorologist at Channel 8.
Yeah.
Is it going to rain? Is it going to rain? Is it going to rain? So I've been texting Gil back and forth like all week long, and I think a little while ago he said, "Leave me alone." I don't know. I don't know if it's going to rain. I have no idea. So it's a coin flip. So
He's a good guy.
He's a great guy.
He seems like he's a great guy because
great guy.
you, him, and I have hung out.
and you got to get him on too. I heard.
I know.
That's the next one.
I'm trying.
Yeah, all right. We'll work on that.
I was going to say maybe next time we'll have the three of us on.
All right. Let's do it.
And
But you won't have anything to talk about with me after that.
Sure.
Be
I
all
will.
over. Okay.
Oh, sure. Oh, sure we will.
We'll be all lead out by then.
We'll figure something out.
All right.
So we covered the baseball.
Kind
career.
of. Sure.
Now, from baseball,
Mm-hmm.
now how was it playing in the different countries? Is baseball different?
Very different. Yeah.
How?
Well, let me see how can I equate it. So baseball, when you're playing at the level that I got fortunate to play at, it's business, right?
Yeah.
So it's 100% business all the time, and it's very cutthroat, right? So when I went to, I played in Amsterdam, is where my team was located. So I went to Amsterdam, and it's very laid back, and I happened to play for a team. I mean, it's good baseball. It's definitely not as good as what I was playing, as far as the professional level. It's probably like playing Division II college baseball, something like that.
Okay.
And but I happened to be the player that I was on the same team with. He was like their Babe Ruth.
Okay.
He had led their, he's a record holder in home runs, and every time he got up, everybody loved him. But it was sort of a strange dynamic because they would, in between innings, they would go smoke cigarettes and they would do things like that.
Really?
So it was these were older men too.
Yeah.
Like they were in their early 30s, things like that. And that's just the way it was. It was sort of more laid back, more casual, and they had decent stadiums, but they were more like a soccer country and that kind of thing. So it was very casual. Now, when I went to Australia,
Yeah.
I lived in Perth, and Perth was beautiful, and I had a great gig. I lived by the beach, and every day I would go to the beach. It wasn't a bad gig, but the same kind of situation. They didn't take it quite as seriously as we did here,
Okay.
and it was sort of like it was sort of more like a hobby.
Okay.
Than it was trying to make it a profession. But they were pretty good. Baseball in Australia was better than the baseball in Amsterdam, but
Okay.
it was interesting. I got a chance to see the world, which was kind of nice.
That's not a bad gig.
Not a bad gig.
No,
Not
that's
a bad gig. I
absolutely.
mean, what else was I going to do?
Exactly. And then you got bit by the radio bug.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
I got involved in radio about the time I got done with the Cardinals. I was kind of searching for what I was going to do because at 25 now my dream is over, Pete, right?
Right.
So what am I going to do? So I kind of stumbled across, I was actually doing a show similar to this, but a sports show.
Really?
I was. I did an access show for about a year where we took live call-ins and all that stuff.
In Connecticut?
Yep.
Huh?
And one of the other people who was doing their own show was also a radio personality. And he says, you should come on down and see radio for what it is and blah, blah, blah. And I always kind of liked radio. I was fascinated by, excuse me, the one-on-one personality. Like when someone's talking to you through the radio, it's more like a one-on-one back and forth. It's a very personal medium, right? It's very different than television. So I kind of like that idea. And then so I went and I interned and I kind of did all the the no good work. I almost swore.
That's okay.
Yeah, that kind of work. And then one thing led to another, and they gave me an air shift, and I loved it. I fell in love. I was doing overnights and things like that, and it was really great. But what happened was, it just wasn't enough for me. I still wanted more.
Okay.
So I wound up running into a friend of mine, and we sort of were talking about some stuff, and they said, you should go down to New York and take an acting class. I think you'd be a great actor. So I said, I don't know anything about acting. But she says, you got to go. So I went down to this acting class, and so I'm sitting in a New York acting class with 30 people, teachers up on stage, and I'm surrounded, Pete, by 25 beautiful women in a class. And I'm like, why didn't I want to do this before? This is pretty great.
Yeah, right.
So I'm like, I left that, and I said to myself, this is kind of what I want to do next. This is what I want to do. So I ended up semi-moving to New York City. I would travel back and forth 3 or 4 times a week, and I would sleep on my cousin's sofa, who had an apartment in Manhattan. And I started taking acting classes, and I started, knocking on doors and all that. And I wasn't all that successful. I did get a gig on As the World Turns. I played a bartender on As the World Turns for over 2 years.
I think I knew this.
Yeah, so I did that, and I really love that. And to this day, I still really enjoy that medium as well. It's really something, getting a chance to try to bring something to life. But that wasn't really paying the bills. Then somebody made a phone call to me and said, listen, I got an opening to do full-time radio. And I had to make that choice, but I had to come back and move back here. So I did that. I ended up coming back and took a gig in radio. And that sort of led me to where I am. It was actually a rock station. It was the first full-time radio gig that I had. I did
Which
mornings.
station?
In the Mohegan Sun, there's a station called The Wolf.
Yes, it's still there.
I was the very first person to speak at on the Wolf.
I remember you on the Wolf.
They built a studio to our specs, and I was there for 5 years. It was great.
I remember you.
Yeah.
You did mornings.
Did mornings. Yes.
Yes. That's right.
Yep. So I did that, and that sort of led to the talk radio, which is a whole different animal.
Is it?
Yeah, it's totally different. Talk radio is. It's incredibly challenging. It is, in particular, political talk.
Oh, yeah.
I'm literally working, as if I'm awake, Pete, I'm working.
Yeah.
I know that sounds...
You're like me.
Well, exactly. But like, there's nothing that can happen where if you're not aware of it,
right,
you miss out. You miss out on the stuff. So like I said, like, you got to keep up on everything. When you have interviews, you got to know what's going on. You got to do that every day.
So do you.
Every day.
So do you.
Every single day.
Now, when people listen to your show, what type of guests can they typically expect to hear? Or does it depend?
Well, I have regular guests every day.
Okay.
Right. So they're all my friends, right? They've all become my friends.
Except Pete Mezzeti.
Except Pete Mezzeti.
Yeah.
I can't. See, if I give Pete Mezzeti a regular spot, then I go way down here. You go up here, and I go down here. But I have regular guests that either are state legislators, or community leaders, what have you, the Chamber of Commerce people, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And then I also have, I'll bring on national guests. Like I was telling you, I had Bill O'Reilly on.
Yeah. The
other day, and that's probably the biggest name in media personality out there still to this day.
Oh, sure.
So I could go from that gamut. I've had the governor on. I've had everybody that you probably grab on. But you got to remember too, my station and me personally, I lean to the right. So people who are on the left will sort of shy away from me because it doesn't do them any good to get into a confrontation with me on the air about certain issues.
Right.
And I'm not crazy lunatic right.
No.
I'm center right, I would say.
Exactly.
And I'm actually very, I do get a lot of emails, nasty emails, because sometimes they feel like I'm not right enough. I'm left of center on ecological issues and things like that. I mean, I want the planet to be healthy and all that. Yeah. So I'm an animal fan first and foremost too. So. As you can see, I got my paws on me. So
cool.
Yeah.
Would you mind sticking around for another segment?
We got another segment?
Yeah.
We're halfway done?
We're halfway done. We'll be right back.
Holy cow.
to Sure Things.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzeti Show.
Hello and welcome to Arts and Entertainment.
As an academic medical center, it's our duty and our opportunity to work with new technologies.
We're always trying to think about what are the new ways we could apply this technology to better serve our patients.
We have formed unique collaborations with institutions such as Jackson Labs.
Doing genetic analysis of most tumors that we're removing currently, and this allows us to personalize the treatment to each individual.
We're seeing benefits in patients who otherwise would have had no hope.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzeti Show. I'm Pete Mezzeti, hanging out here with Lee Elci from 94.9 News Now. Sir, welcome back. You're fixing yourself, making yourself look beautiful.
Look pretty for you, man. Gotta look pretty for you.
You definitely gotta look pretty.
So we talked about me way too much.
Well,
You know, I
you want to talk about me?
Who doesn't?
All right. What do you want to know?
I don't know. Let's say I asked you in the beginning, like, what's next? So are you happy? This is it? I mean, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that, no, but I mean that you got a great show, 500 shows. Can you expand on this? Can you get on into different networks and different areas?
Oh yeah, because the Pete Mezzeti Show is not only seen on your local public access TV state, your local public access show, your local public access channel, I shall say.
Yeah.
But you can also find Pete Mezzeti wherever you find your favorite podcast.
Oh, is that right?
Oh yeah.
These are on podcasts? So Spotify and things like that?
Spotify,
You ain't no
Apple,
joke. Who's putting that stuff together? These people behind the scenes?
No, me.
You?
Me.
I don't even, you have to teach me how to do that because I'm terrible at it.
You don't know how to do that?
I don't know. By the way, you got great people working behind the scenes.
Oh yeah, everybody.
That's unbelievable.
Everybody.
The studio is great too.
Everybody's awesome.
I love it, man.
Everybody's a lot of fun to work with, and everybody's very friendly, very.
I think you should change the name to Pete Mezzeti Experience, like Jimi Hendrix. I think that would be better because you're an experience. You're more than a show. This is an experience being on the Pete Mezzeti Show. I'm telling you, I think I like that name better. It's got a better ring. That's a T-shirt, man. Right? Get a little caricature of you in the upper left-hand corner.
Sort of like the character from Mad Magazine.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess so, sure.
Like the Alfred.
And have you open your mouth open like you're mad at somebody? The people, yeah, exactly. There it is. That's a T-shirt sell out.
Then Pete Mezzeti shows up on the Lee Elci Show.
That's right, the Pete Mezzeti Experience.
It's all downhill from there.
Right.
You and I talked about doing, when we were talking about different community leaders.
Yeah.
One of our mutual most favorite community leaders that is no longer in the legislature was former Senator Paul Formica.
One of the best.
Great guys.
Great guy.
Awesome.
Yep. And
have you heard from him?
I hear from him from time to time. I run into him from time to time. He is one of the most down-to-earth people. I mean, he's great. I know he's been on with you before.
He's definitely been on.
And he's missed, in the Senate, people miss that, that level-headed approach. So I might run for his spot. What do you think of that?
No.
Just announce that on your show.
No.
How about that? Would you have me on then?
Of course I would.
All right.
Of course I would.
It might happen.
Yeah?
That magic may happen. So don't tell anybody.
Okay, I won't tell anybody. Hey, speaking of TV.
Yeah.
A couple of weeks ago.
All right.
I was flipping around.
Okay.
It was a Sunday morning.
All right. Oh,
you know where I'm going. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah.
And so Sunday mornings, I get up.
Yeah.
I watch, go to church.
Yeah.
Go to breakfast. Come back before 10 o'clock.
Yep.
Catch my man Dennis House.
Yep. That's your guy.
That's our buddy. And then at 10:30.
Yep.
Watch Capitol Report.
Capitol Report.
So with Capitol Report, you get the cast of characters.
Yeah.
So I turned on to see who was on the panel one day, and there was Lee Elci.
That's me. Yep. I've been on I think 11 times now, 12 times, something like that. So whenever McKinney can't come, they call me up usually, and I'm lucky.
I've never met McKinney. He seems nice.
Nice guy, smart guy, very smart.
He seems very.
But that's a good scene. That's a neat show, and Mr. Dudchick does a great job. And
he seems like a nice guy too.
Very nice.
Never met him.
Very nice guy. Yeah.
And I know you have, and I'm gonna murder this, Liz
Karanowitz.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I knew I was gonna kill it.
That's all right. She's tough. That's a tough name, but she's great.
Is she?
And she's on the air. Yeah, she's
on with you all the time.
She's very nice. She's a Tuesday regular. She's on my show
she?
Tuesdays. Yeah. So.
And you also have the Colonel on.
The Rob Simmons is great. He's probably the most popular.
Thursday?
He's
No.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Yep.
See?
Thursday. See, 7:30 to 9 on Thursday. I get Rob. And
What's he like?
He is.
I've never had a chance to interview him.
The best way I describe him is, and he hates it when I do this, but he's a real life. He's like a real life John Wayne. Like you think about a guy. Yeah. Well, think about this. He served in Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
He's all the accolades of Vietnam. He came back. He joined the CIA. I mean, this is a guy who has, and then he ran for Congress and won.
He joined
so he's
the
a
CIA?
congressman. Yeah, he was a CIA guy. So Rob I get stories from Rob off the air that nobody else is privy to, which, I'm kind of sworn to secrecy that I won't share. But, I always tell him, I said, Rob, you have to write a book. And he has more energy than anybody I've ever met. He's 80 years old.
Really?
And he can jump circles around me. He's just all ball of fire. So he's a great guest to have.
Wow.
Yeah. So he's good. He's good. And then coming up at the end in December, I'm getting a chance to fill in. I don't know if you know who this is, but Mike Gallagher is he's the third most listened to radio person in the country.
Isn't he on the station?
He's on the station right after me.
See, I do listen.
Yeah. So I get to fill in for him coming up.
Really?
So we get an audience that goes from however many thousand we have to 8 million, which would be pretty neat.
Oh man,
so that'd be kind of neat. It's coming up in end of December. We get to do that again. Yeah.
Now you can do that out of your studio.
No, yeah, out of the studio.
Where you are.
They make put a fancy backdrop and because it's on TV too.
I was going to say I've seen the.
Yeah.
I've seen
That's
and
good.
sometimes you even do some work for.
Oh, Wayne Root?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm like.
Yeah. Every Friday, I'm on a show called War, which is Wayne Allen Root is a nationally syndicated radio guy.
Okay.
And
what's he like?
He's a million miles an hour too. He's got his oars in the water in a million different places. But every Friday from 6 to 7 Eastern time.
Yep.
I do his show, and then I fill in for him whenever he's out. So that goes out over like 70 stations across the country, which is kind of cool.
Really?
Yeah. So busy. I'm busy like you, man. I'm busy like you.
Man, how do people keep up with us?
I know, right?
How?
Jeez.
They can't.
This is where you should have an advertisement for 5 Hour Energy or something.
Yeah, no
right?
kidding. How do people do it?
Yeah.
No.
That's it. That's sort of what I do. Every day is like, I get up like I get up early. I get up like 4 something every day.
Yeah, you're like me.
And I just pound the pavement. You gotta try to stay ahead of everything. But,
I know.
hey, listen, I could be doing worse things. I like what I do a lot.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean? I do like being on the radio. I like the personal medium of it. I like the one-on-one. We have really great callers, and I have great guests. Lucky to have great regulars and great national guests. It's good.
Now, how did the pandemic affect you? Yeah, obviously you couldn't have in-studio guests. Everybody had to be calling.
Well, no.
Zoom?
I think I'm the only person. I might be the only person in the country to not miss a day because of the pandemic and get COVID. I had COVID.
You did?
And I still did the show. I did it. We had
from your home.
I had to do. Yeah. So they sent when it first hit.
Yeah.
I stayed in the studio, and everybody else. I was like in there by myself. And then like a couple months in, I tested positive for COVID, and I didn't want to come off the air. So I said, let's do it from home.
Right.
So I did, and I did the show from home, and I ended up having to do not only my show but a couple other station shows. Their hosts got COVID, so I had to do their show as well at the same time. But I didn't miss any time, and that was a crazy time. Did you do this show during COVID?
I did.
You did.
And
from home?
No, for a while, yeah. And then I could come into the studio, have me in studio, and my guest through Zoom.
Right.
Before, when I was home, it would be me at home.
Right.
My guest through Zoom.
Right.
And then my director would be off location producing the show, hitting the buttons.
Now that's a hot button topic issue, right? What do you make of that whole thing, COVID? You think it was you think it was a legit scare, or you think they tried to scare the country? What do you think?
I think they did.
They tried to scare, or they did it?
They did it.
They did it.
They did it.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
My mom had it.
Yep.
My dad had it.
Yep.
I didn't get it.
Good for you.
Oh.
It wasn't fun. I didn't have any of the other symptoms except I got really tired.
Yeah.
Like I just wanted to sleep. And then, it was only 2 or 3 days and it was gone.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, when you do your show in the morning,
yeah.
Is it just you, or do you have a producer?
No, actually, it is just me.
It's just
me. They asked me for a producer, but I like the hands-on.
Right.
And I'm faster at doing what I want than me telling a producer what I want.
Yeah.
So anything that comes through the airwaves on my show comes through me. So if I play a song, like a lot of times, let's say me and you are talking about something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. It could be anything, but if I think of a song that's relates to that,
right.
Not that my show is music related, but let's say we're talking about, I don't know, Egyptians.
Right.
And I might think to myself, oh, walk like an Egyptian.
Yeah,
I'll play that or something like that. So, I mean, before I could tell somebody how to do that, I just do it.
Right.
So I would rather be hands-on. Now, most people in my, in radio end up having a producer. When I fill in, like when I fill in for Wayne Allen Root, or if I fill in for for Gallagher,
yeah.
Wayne has one producer, Gallagher has 4.
Dear God.
So there's 4 people behind the scenes, like here, that are in my ear or telling you what's coming up next. So, it's a little bit of a different dynamic. But just for my own show over in Connecticut, I do everything. I like it better that way.
Yeah. Now tell me, where can people listen to you?
They can listen to me at 94.9 on the FM dial.
Yeah.
They can listen on our app. If you have a smartphone, you download the app. 949 News Now is the app, and that you can take anywhere, which is kind of cool. I have a website, leelc.com, and we're working on that. So that'll be something up and operational very soon. So that's pretty much where you can listen.
And it's Monday through Friday mornings?
Monday through Friday, 6 to 10.
Yeah.
As far as Wayne Allen Root, it's Fridays, 6 to 7 p.m.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's it. That's when I'm on.
Wow.
How about this? This is on what time? When can I watch this?
You can actually watch this.
Will you put a blue thing on my face?
No.
Like
I'll put a bag over your head.
All right. Put those blue dots.
No, you're not putting the blue.
Do you like to watch yourself on TV?
I don't mind.
You don't?
Because people have asked. They were like, after you do your interview,
right?
When it airs on the dial,
right?
Do you watch it? I'm like, I'll watch the first few minutes of it to make sure it looks okay, but I won't watch the whole thing.
Right.
But then I'll go back online and watch the whole thing later.
Okay.
Or I'll go on to the podcast version and listen to it.
Okay.
So I can listen to it. And
that's okay. I never watch myself.
Do other? No.
Never.
No.
Nope.
Really?
I've never watched any of the Cap reports. I won't watch this. Just because I'll be overly critiquing. No, I don't mind watching if I'm acting in something, like if I have a part in something that's different.
Right.
Because it's a different feel because you're playing somebody else. But I don't want to see myself. I'm sick of myself. I'm sick of me.
Did your wife say the same thing?
When she talks to me. That's a miracle.
No.
Come on. Are you married?
No.
Come on. I'm telling you. Anybody who's married saying, yep, he's right. See, they're all shaking their heads.
How long have you been married?
19 years.
Wow.
Yeah. No. So, no, it's good. She's great. Christine's great.
Is she?
Yeah.
I'm thinking. I
don't just know how she puts up with me.
I don't know.
You know what I mean? So.
That's got to be. And I know your brother is.
My brother Steven. He's an amazing musician.
Yeah,
he got all the talent.
I follow him on social media.
Yeah, he's great. He writes.
Let's talk about him.
He is my brother's probably the nicest person you've ever met in your life. He is a Grammy-nominated musician. He can play. Here's the thing about my brother nobody knows. I'll let a secret out. Yeah, this is a secret. So my brother's got like 5 albums out.
Okay.
And mostly it's kids music now.
Right.
But it's kids music with a different edge. It's not like like a road. It's not like a child's type of. It's actual real songs.
Yeah, yeah.
But they're they have the verbiage. The lyrics are more geared towards kids. But my brother cannot read music.
Really?
Right? He can't read not one lick of music, but he can play anything. Like you could put any instrument in this room and he could play it. I'm very jealous of my brother when it comes to that. I think that's great talent.
Really?
I think it's amazing. It's amazing, yeah. So he's very good. So
Now back to your radio career.
all right.
What are some of the stations that you've worked for?
Pete, it's funny. I've worked for. In the area, I've worked for Q105.
Yeah.
I've worked for the Wolf. I've worked for 980 for a little while. I worked for 1023, but 1023 was actually 980. We combined both stations. So what's interesting is I've never been fired. So, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
So most radio people are fired, like almost immediately. But
yeah.
I've never been fired. So I haven't worked for as many radio stations as people may think. So it's really only a couple, and I left by choice to do something that I thought was better. And I landed here. Like talk radio is, like I said to you earlier, it's a different animal, man. It's 24/7. It's nonstop consuming news constantly, right? Or any story, you got to get the information on it and read and then reread, because tomorrow you have to talk about it, or you have to formulate some kind of an opinion on it, and you got to do it every day. So like I said, it's challenging. I enjoy it, but it's not like people think, I could do that. And I said, you probably could do it for one day.
Yeah, right.
But you can't, like, you can have a great show on Monday, but what are you going to do on Tuesday? Because you can't say the same thing you said on Monday on Tuesday. It's going to be so different. So it's good. But you know that because you have to do this every week, right?
Yeah. You can't say the same thing every week.
No.
And it's like
people get sick of you.
You gotta.
Who was your favorite radio personality growing up? Mine was Imus.
Mine was Imus as well.
Okay. Did you have anybody locally that you liked a lot? No one I can't point to anybody, but I mean, I grew up listening to Imus, and as I look back,
yeah, so did I.
Yeah, I kind of think that he's obviously a Hall of Famer, but
yeah, and he passed away not long ago.
Not too long ago, yeah.
4 years ago.
Yeah, some of the great ones are gone, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, he was a.
And what kind of music does Pete Mezzeti like?
Pete Mezzeti like 70s, 80s.
Rock.
Rock.
Okay. Not disco.
A little bit of disco.
Okay, all right. Bee Gees?
Yeah. How about Lee? What's Lee listen to?
I like more rock, I think.
Yeah?
Yeah, more rock. So, well, actually, when I was growing up, a little heavier rock, but I like it. Yeah, I like the Eagles, that kind of stuff.
Now, what was it like working for the Mohegan Sun station? I've walked by that studio.
Right.
It looks tiny.
It is tiny, but it's got a back.
Yeah, I've walked by it when I've been up there in past experiences.
Sure.
And you can look in the window and maybe see the person sitting there.
Yep.
But if you go pull on the door to see if they'll let you in, it's locked.
It's usually locked. Well, all right, so now it's completely different than when I was there.
Okay.
So when I was at the Mohegan Sun, part of the gig was because there was a window.
Yeah.
They made sure that there was always somebody on the air, a human being.
Yes.
Well, technology evolved, right? So now you don't need somebody to be there to play records or rock anymore, because
everything's automated.
Everything's automated. So it wasn't like that when I was there. So I kind of come from a generation that's a little before this new age where you plug and play and you don't even need a human being. So, but what happened was Mohegan Sun. Part of the contract in the beginning was you have to have somebody in there because we want to make it look like action.
Right.
So, we had live, I was the first one, I was in there in the morning, then we had a girl, Bailey, who was on next, and we had an afternoon person and a night person, so there was always somebody there. And then they sold, like the company that I was working for, sold that station to a different station, and they created a different deal. So now when you walk by, there's never anybody in there.
No.
And it loses because the pull or the draw of that station is that there was supposed to be action there, right? People would stop. I'd have guests in there, and people who were on their way to the casino or leaving would stop, and we could be 20 people deep if I had a good guest on, right? Because you could hear it out in the hallway.
Yeah, you can hear it.
So if I had somebody, the first person I ever interviewed on that station was Ray Manzarek. Now, you may not know that name, but Ray Manzarek was
I
the
don't know
keyboard
that.
player for the Doors. So that guy, it was great. And they were playing, he was playing at the Mohegan Sun. So they would come down and they would come on. So a lot of times, Aerosmith was on with me, all kinds of, and anybody that was there that was going to was playing at the casino, we tried to get them on. It didn't always work out that way. When you know, the big stars, they didn't need us. But you know, if there was like a concert that wasn't selling out, they put we'd get them. They put them on with us.
They'd stop.
Yeah.
Now, when you did the morning show at the Mohegan Sun, were you alone or did you have a co-host?
I was alone most of the time, but then there was a co-host who was a very funny friend of mine who would come in. His name is Mike Lehman, and he used to be on in the morning with Franco. I don't know if you remember Franco?
I know, sure.
So Franco actually, kudos to Franco. He built his own internet radio station. It's very successful.
He did?
Yeah. And but Mike was on with him, and then me and Mike became friends. So 3 times a week, Mike would come on with me, but mostly it was by myself.
Wow.
Yeah. That was, I mean, and it was more like, you know, it was your typical shock jock kind of a show. How can I make you go, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. Right.
So Franco's no longer with the station
Franco's
in
still
London?
on, not with that one. He's actually on another station.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if he wants anybody to
No, we won't. I'm not going to mention it, but
So.
I remember the station that he was on previously in New London.
Franco gave a lot of people their start in radio in this area. Me being one of them. He was my first boss.
Was he?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, Franco.
I've never met him. What's he like?
He'll tell you he's great.
All right.
No, he's good. Franco's good. He's good. Yeah, he's that's a guy who bleeds radio, right? So he loves it. He really does. Really. And it's kind of neat. You get into this business, and you know, there are the people who are lifer radio folks, and they're sort of a different breed. It's a neat medium. I do love, of all the mediums, radio is still the best to me. I'd rather do radio than TV.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, over the years since you started in radio to where we are now,
Yep.
how has it changed?
Technology, number one.
Okay.
Technology is just, and it's way easier now. So technology in the beginning started to take away jobs. Now it's really taken away a lot of jobs. So a lot of the radio stations you listen to, you think, oh wow, there's somebody on all day long. There's not.
Yeah.
There's somebody usually on in the morning live, and then the rest of the day,
It's pre-recorded?
it's people. You could have a morning, like an afternoon DJ who's talking on a station in London, but they're in Memphis or they're in Seattle, and they're just they're logging in and doing it that way. So that has changed significantly. I think that is. That is not a good change for the business. No, because I think that radio, there's a person-to-person relationship that's built, and I think it's harder to do that if you're not in the community. If you're a nationally syndicated show, that's different.
Right.
Like you're looking at it from a different. Like my show here in Connecticut is very different than when I fill on a national show. Like I can't talk about being on the Pete Mezzeti show if I'm on.
Filling in for Wayne.
Yeah, exactly. Because it doesn't. People out in Las Vegas or Texas, unfortunately, they don't care about the Pete Mezzeti experience yet.
Who's Pete?
They will.
Who's Pete Mezzeti?
But that's the thing. So you got to sort of tailor it.
Right.
But technology, number one, has changed, I think, the most. And I can remember times when I first started. If I was doing a night show, we used to have like an all request hour where you'd call in.
Yep.
And I'd record somebody, and we used to have these reel-to-reels. Right? So the reel-to-reel, that's how far back. I'm old. So
I know what you're talking about, so I'm old.
So I record a call, let's say, blah, 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 I want to hear so-and-so. And then if there was something that needed to get taken out, like maybe she swore or maybe something happened, I would actually literally have to splice the tape, tape
Put
it back together, and then play it. It was an effort to make this stuff happen.
Right.
And every commercial that you heard, every sweeper that you heard would be me taking a cart and putting it in, putting it out. Sure. So it was very interactive. Now, I hit one button,
there you go.
I can walk away for 10 minutes if I want, if it's a commercial break. So the technology for that part of it is much better, but that personal back and forth relationship is not the same.
A friend of mine was the facilities manager at Channel 8 in New Haven for 40-something years. I remember every time I would be in New Haven, he would say, "You have an open door policy for come visit me,
Right.
come see me." His office, the storage room across from his office, you would walk in, it would be all VHS tapes.
Yeah.
Because back in the day,
Yep.
when the photographers went out in the field to shoot a story,
Yeah.
it basically looked like
Yep.
a VCR tape
Yeah.
that they had to pop in the machine.
Now it's all digital.
And it's like, he's like, check this out.
Yep.
I'm like, oh man, now it's all,
When I first started in music, so like behind this step behind you,
Yeah.
that would be all what we call carts. They're like
Yep.
8 tracks.
Yes.
So they would all have a number on them, and you'd look at the log, and it would say play 7205, and I'd go and get that
7205,
whatever
pop
it
it
is,
in the
pop it in,
machine.
and then you would make all the sound happen. You would make the sweeper go into the music and
Right.
all of that. So it was more of a personal mix, but. You know, I even go back to the days when we kind of could pick our own music. They don't do that anymore at all.
what? No, really?
None of anything you hear on the radio now is not picked by the person playing it.
No, everything's
It's because it's all done.
It's all
cookie cutter.
pre-recorded. It's all
Well, no, but
automated.
they want to because they've come to make it a science out of it, Pete. In other words, like if they like classic rock, for argument's sake, is like they only play a certain amount of songs.
Right.
The playlist is very short because they realize people are only in their cars for a short amount of
certain
time.
time.
So they're only going to listen for 7, 12, 11 minutes, whatever it is. So they want to make sure they get the hits during that time.
So you're not playing American Pie by Don McLean over and over and over again.
Exactly.
Well, you could, but
Exactly.
that would be.
Yeah. But you're not playing like the 4th cut of an album.
No.
A song nobody's ever heard of. Even though you love it, you're
Yeah.
not playing it because no one else wants to hear it.
Exactly. And if you need something to do, it's like, what do you do? It's like the world is changing.
It's changing.
The world
It's changing.
the world is changing. So where's the LCC's radio career going?
That's a great question, man. I don't know, Pete.
Maybe you don't know.
I mean, I always like to think I'm going to expand and get bigger. I'm never happy when I'm standing still.
Right.
I try to always want to be moving forward, and you want to make as much of an impact, I think, as you can. So if radio is in my long-term future, I want to grow. I want to be on more stations. I want more of that voice. So that's probably the short answer to a question that could be a much longer answer, but I'll give you the short answer for now.
Now, how much do you enjoy getting out in the community?
Well, I thought you were going to ask me how much do you get paid.
No.
How much do you get paid?
I don't know. I don't know.
Not enough.
Not enough. All right. No, we're not answering
Not
that.
enough.
Okay.
No, here's what's funny. This is going to sound horrible.
What?
I like broadcasting
Right.
from my studio
Yeah.
because I am in complete control, right? Mm-hmm. I don't like necessarily broadcasting on a location because you lose that control, and I think the quality of the show sort of takes a hit. So
Okay.
being out in the community doing those kinds of things, I don't like it as much as a lot of jocks love it, right? They live for that. I'm not one of those. I like to sort of be in a box, almost by myself a lot of times, because that's when I think I'm the most creative, and there's no outside influences. But I know radio, you actually have to sort of be back and forth at times. So that's it's part of the job. I get that.
Right.
But it's that's why when I do, like, we have a big radio station event coming up in November.
What is
so
it?
you should stop by. It's the birthday party for the radio station I'm on. We're turning 12.
Okay.
So up at the Cabaret Theater at Mohegan Sun on November 17th, we're having a bash. And, we'll get 500 or 600 people, hopefully, in the Cabaret Theater.
What's the date?
November 17th.
Okay.
So I'll send you a message.
All right.
We'll keep you in the loop.
Yeah.
All right?
Absolutely.
We'll get you prime seats. It should be fun. I don't know who our guests are yet, but we'll have some fun. Yeah.
Maybe you can get Pete Mezzeti on.
As a guest, and then take
Yeah.
away from my sunlight?
Yeah.
Rob me from my fame?
You're right. What's the worst that could happen?
You would replace me, and I'd be on the unemployment line.
That's
Then what would I do? I'd be out in
you
the
could work.
cold.
No, because if that happened, you could be my engineer.
I'll push the buttons. For All right, that's a good answer.
Pushing the buttons.
Yeah.
Well, Elci, we're about to run out of time.
This was
but
fun,
before
buddy.
we do, I want you to. Thanks for coming out. We'll see you soon.
Anytime.
You got it.
You got it.
Thanks, Ben.
You got it.
On behalf of Elci, I'm Pete Mezzeti. Thanks. Good night, and we'll see you next time.